What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single Tuesday I, Graham Gius and Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking about WWE Survivor Series 2016. Now, before we get started, quick reminder, 2 Tuesdays from today, not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, November 28th, I believe, is the exact date. I will be beginning my extravaganza, my journey into reviewing every WCW and ECW pay-per-view on the WWE Network. Now, I've had mixed thoughts. I talked to Jason about it, and I said I would not be doing like a linear type deal with like the WCW and ECW shows where I'll take a pay-per-view and talk about every Halloween Havoc in order from like 91 to 1999, if you know what I mean. Those aren't the exact years, I realize that, but you know what I'm trying to say. And he said it'd be more confusing, wouldn't be as organized. And I don't know, I just like the idea of just kind of going back and forth. The first pay-per-view I talk about, bam, Bash at the Beach, 1996. I like going around because, I don't know, it was easier with the WWE stuff just because I was aware of the product, I knew what was going on at that time, so I could go from year to year. And bouncing around, I don't know, it was a lot easier for me to follow the product when I did it year by year because I knew the product around that period of time for the most part. With WCW, I do not, so it really doesn't matter to me if I go year to year, every Starrcade in order from beginning to end. I would much rather just take a pay-per-view like a Halloween Havoc 1998 and just talk about it here on the channel. Because otherwise, we might not get to Halloween Havoc 1998 for another 2 or 3 years. That was the issue with the WWE pay-per-view ones, which I enjoy doing, don't get me wrong, I love fucking doing them. But the way that I did them, I didn't talk about Armageddon until late 2016. And I started doing these WrestleRant pay-per-view reviews from the WWE Network in early 2014. So do you really want to wait 2.5, 3 years until fucking 2020 for me to talk about a certain pay-per-view in WCW or ECW's history? Probably not. So I like the idea of just bouncing around, going from one year to the next, one promotion to the next, whether it be WCW, ECW, or TNA. Let me know what you think. Again, drop a comment down below, tweet me on Twitter, Facebook, all the links are in the description box down below. But let's talk about what you guys came here to hear, my review of WWE's 2016 Survivor Series pay-per-view. Not my favorite Survivor Series. 2015 was far worse. 2013 was even worse than that. 2013 will go down as my least favorite pay-per-view as a fan of all time, that I've been a fan for is what I'm trying to say, since 2008, of April of 08. Survivor Series 2013 was indeed awful, and I talked about it a few years ago here on the show, and you can find my rant about it. You can find my rant on Survivor Series 2013 here on WrestleRant from a few years back. But Survivor Series 2016 was by no means a stellar show. The whole concept coming into the show was Raw versus SmackDown. Now, mind you, this was mere months removed from when they started the brand extension, the second brand extension in WWE, with the Raw versus SmackDown matches, and they try to make it mean something. I mean, that's all well and good, but by this point, the brand split they had at the very beginning, in 2016 anyway, I'm not talking about the original incarnation in 02, they had done right. I mean, there were a few people that were swapping shows every now and again, but by and large, they kept people on their own shows. Now, in the last year, they've really not completely thrown that out the window, but they have from time to time, making some really, really dumb decisions. But beyond that, Raw and SmackDown still mean something. But nonetheless, I was excited for the potential prospect idea of a Raw versus SmackDown pay-per-view, and doing it at Survivor Series made way more sense than making it its own pay-per-view. Now, I enjoyed the bragging rights pay-per-views. I reviewed them here for WrestleRant a few years back. I specifically enjoyed the 2010 installment, which I've watched back on the network a few times now in the past number of years. I enjoyed that show. Just the issue is that why the fuck would you do a Raw vs. SmackDown pay-per-view a month before Survivor Series, essentially rendering Survivor Series irrelevant, when you were already doing a multi-man huge tag team elimination match a fucking month before Survivor Series. That made no sense to me whatsoever. So, getting rid of that altogether and just waiting until Survivor Series made the most sense to me, but this was not the most well-executed show by any means. So real quick before we get to the main card now, like I always say, I don't talk about the kickoff matches, I just merely mention the results, but if you want to watch the kickoff, because it is separate from the actual pay-per-view, oh, they're all the same, they're fucking not. Okay, one airs on, they both air on the network, but one airs before the show starts on pay-per-view, and the one does not. One starts before, one starts at the exact time. The matches that air in the kickoff are not part of the pay-per-view. If you watch the kickoff, good for you. If you don't, you're not missing anything, and that was the case with this kickoff. It was Noam Dar, Rich Swann, and TJ Perkins beating Arya Daivari, Drew Gulak, and Tony Nese in a 6-man cruiserweight tag team match, and Kane beating Luke Harper. Moving on. The first match in the card, a Team Raw versus Team SmackDown women's 5-on-5 elimination tag team match. Representing Raw, it was Alicia Fox, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks taking on SmackDown's Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Natalya, Naomi, and Becky Lynch. Not a good match at all, to be honest with you. A lot of awkward spots, and first of all, too, SmackDown by this point was clearly the superior show. People were favoring SmackDown over Raw, so SmackDown got a lot of chants from the crowd. People were cheering for SmackDown over Raw throughout the entire show. But it made it awkward when, like at the end of this match, when you had Bayley and Becky going at it, who the fuck do you cheer for? They're both baby faces. You might prefer SmackDown over Raw, but you don't want to boo Bayley, so it made for a really awkward situation. But that aside, the actual match was just not all that good. There were just a lot of mind-boggling decisions made here. One being Nia Jax, who came in like a house of fire. I think it might have been Becky and Alexa tried to do a double DDT on her and it failed and looked terrible and the crowd let them know it. That was one botch. Whatever. But then Nia Jax, the woman that has been unstoppable for months by this point, has never been pinned or submitted, even beaten in any sort of match, taps out in a mere matter of seconds to Becky Lynch. That made no sense. That was so stupid. And then yet, they have Naomi, of all people, who had been doing nothing of note whatsoever on SmackDown, get counted out. So why would you protect Naomi over Nia Jax? Beyond dumb. Nikki Bella was supposed to be on Team SmackDown. She got attacked beforehand, and Natalya replaced her. Now, the crowd was happy to see Natalya. I think she was one of the first people gone. I think Carmella might have been. I don't know. But Natalya was eliminated in anticlimactic fashion. The crowd was not happy about that, despite the fact that she was a heel. And by the way, they had played off the fact that, Carmella and Nikki had been feuding, so it was Carmella who probably attacked her. In the end, it was Natalya that led to that feud at the onset of 2017. Alexa Bliss did well here. It was Alexa and Becky left for Team SmackDown. Alexa got knocked out in seconds. I think it was maybe Natalya that got eliminated. I'm not exactly sure. But Alexa gets, tagged in as soon as the other person gets out, gets booted right in the face by Charlotte Flair, and gets eliminated in decisive fashion. Sasha Banks was the first one gone for her team, not even Nia Jax. And Sasha Banks, the same fucking woman who won the Raw Women's title 8 nights later. Going to show that wins and losses do not matter in WWE, apparently. Because otherwise, why the fuck would you do that? She lost by a roll-up by, I think, Natalya or something. It was beyond bizarre. So that was really dumb. In the end, and a fucking team with Alicia Fox. Why would you leave Alicia Fox in there, of all people? And stupid. Carmella was the first one gone, by the way, after Alicia Fox pinned her with a terrible axe scissor kick. Looked awful. Anyway, so yeah, the final two women were Bayley and Charlotte. They survived for their team by lastly eliminating Becky Lynch. A mess of a match. And then Charlotte attacked her afterwards anyway to set up that feud, which it didn't for another month and a half because Charlotte and Sasha would resume their rivalry coming out of this pay-per-view. So, beyond bizarre. Again, just awfully booked. I don't know where they knew where they were. I don't think they knew. They did not know where they were going with this. I'm pretty sure they had zero idea where they were going beyond this pay-per-view. So they just picked two names out of a hat. Oh, Charlotte and Bayley. Let's have them win for their team. And that was it. After that, for the Intercontinental Championship, SmackDown's The Miz defending against Raw's Sami Zayn. Now, just days earlier on SmackDown, Miz regained the gold in a match against Dolph Ziggler. So that, to me, pretty much made it very evident that The Miz was retaining the title. Like, why would he win the belt just to lose it days later? Now, there was the possibility they wanted Zayn to beat, Miz to get a bigger reaction because Ziggler was a babyface too at that point. And if he had beaten Miz for the belt in his home country, it would have led to a big pop. Zayn on SmackDown, which he is now, and he's benefiting, but before he was not. And then maybe the TLC pay-per-view, we get Miz, Zayn, and Ziggler in like a triple threat ladder match. But we did get, we did get Miz and Ziggler in a ladder match at TLC, which was fucking amazing, which I talked about a few months ago here on the show, or a few weeks ago, whatever. Zayn would not go to SmackDown because he lost here. It was a well-worked match. I think Zayn and Ziggler would have been a better match from an in-ring standpoint. Him and Ziggler probably would have been, again, the better match, but him and Miz had a better story told because it had a better dynamic because Miz was a heel and Zayn was a babyface. So again, Zayn, the hometown hero, they were really pulling for him to win. I didn't think he would win. He didn't. He lost. The way that he lost, though, I thought was just stupid. It put heat on Miz and Maurice, but it was just, it gives me shivers thinking about the fucking Montreal Screwjob for the millionth time. And they didn't play it off that way after they had already done it like literally 6 months earlier at like Payback or Extreme Rules or some dumb pay-per-view like that. I'm pretty sure it was Payback. Anyway, so Zayn seemingly had the match won. The bell rings out of nowhere, of course, in Canada at fucking Survivor Series of all pay-per-views. Their first pay-per-view in Canada in over 7 years. Their first Survivor Series in Canada in 19 years. And they have to play off the old Montreal Screwjob angle. Awful. Can you not get any more less creative than that? Any more creative? I mean, that was a really dumb finish. So they ring the bell, and the referee's like, I didn't fucking, ring for the bell. The match isn't over. And it was Maurice who rang the bell. And because Zayn was distracted, Miz rolled him up, and he retained the title. Now, keeping the belt on Miz was for the better, but it was a fine match. It was not by any means a barn burner by any means, but the finish was just not good. That was really stupid. After that, another Team Raw versus Team SmackDown elimination tag team match. Not 5-on-5, it was 10-on-10, with 5 tag teams on each team. So representing Raw, we had The New Day, The Shining Stars, Gallows and Anderson, Enzo and Cass, and Cesaro and Sheamus. For SmackDown, it was the Usos, Breezango, Heath Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, and American Alpha. Again, a better match than the women's match, but early on just was not feeling it. Now, the rules were that a team was eliminated when one member was pinned or submitted, which is great, which is awesome. Because if you had every member of that, of every team get eliminated, it would have taken fucking 3 hours because there was 20 men in the match. So once one person was eliminated, the entire team was gone, which was for the better. So the match kicks off on a bit of a surprising note. The best parts about this match that I can at least remember was the beginning and the end. So Breezango is handing out, or at least specifically Fandango, is handing out those little, what's it called? The violation tickets, the fashion violation tickets that they would do about a year ago. He gets kicked in the face real quick, or gets hit with the finisher of the New Day in a matter of a minute. So Breezango's gone. Well, Kofi Kingston is distracted in the ring. He gets kicked in the face when he turns around by one of the Usos, gets pinned, and the New Day's gone. And at that point, they were the Raw Tag Team Champions and the team captains for Raw too. So, not a great way for Raw to kick off the match. The remainder of the match, it was kind of just kind of there. The ending I thought was awesome though. The ending I thought was really, really good. So it came down to Cesaro, Sheamus, Enzo and Cass against the Usos. Slater and Rhino at that point were the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Were hardly a focus here. We're not even close to being the last team. I think they might have been the second to last team, but they were barely even a focus. It came down to Cesaro and Sheamus and the Usos, 2 teams that at that point were not Tag Team Champions. But I thought they had a great showing here. They had really, really good chemistry. The Usos took out Enzo and Cass, and then Cesaro and Sheamus and the Usos really fucking killed it. A lot of cool near falls. The crowd was into it. A lot of suspenseful near falls. Exciting action. In the end, it was Cesaro and Sheamus prevailing and earning themselves a Raw Tag Team title match on Raw the next night. That being said, I forgot to say with the Sami Zayn thing. I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. If Zayn won, I guess the title would have gone to Raw. That's what Wikipedia says. I could have sworn that Zayn would have gone to SmackDown if he won. But anyway, in regards to the tag team match again, I just had to mention that. These 2 teams really worked out well together. That was not a stipulation, by the way, with Cesaro and Sheamus winning that they got a tag team title shot. That only happened because Stephanie and Mick Foley were really happy that they won for their team, so they gave them a title shot. But yeah, I thought that was a really great finishing sequence. The overall match was just kind of there. For the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, the Brian Kendrick defending against Kalisto. Now, if Kalisto won, who was representing SmackDown, he would not only take the title, but take the entire division over with him to SmackDown. So that was pretty exciting. The match itself was not all that exciting. There were a few cool moments here and there. An awesome Spanish fly, a standing Spanish fly from the ring apron from Kalisto to the Brian Kendrick, which was really cool. Beyond that, the crowd could not have cared less. And this was at the beginning, early stages of the Cruiserweight division, but people just were not giving a shit at all. They sat on their hands, and I was there at Hell in a Cell for Kendrick and TJP. They sat on their hands at this show for Kendrick and Kalisto, and they sat on their hands for the Triple Threat match at Roadblock, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point at the very next month with Rich Swann, Kendrick, and TJP. Now, I know Kendrick is a factor in all of those matches, but he's awesome. So if Kendrick can't even get people to care about his match, then there's something wrong there. Just because I thought the video package that preceded this match with Kendrick saying, "You'll never take this title from me, I am the Cruiserweight division," was really, really good. It was a great promo. The match itself, it was just kind of there. So in the end, and again, another just asinine finish. So Kalisto's about to win, and he's about to jump off the top rope onto Kendrick. Baron Corbin storms the ring, who is also from SmackDown and had been feuding with Kalisto at that point. Kalisto injured Baron Corbin and took him off Team SmackDown, which is why Baron Corbin wanted to get revenge here. So he storms in the ring, attacks Kendrick first, and then Kalisto, and lays him out in the end of days, which looked great. But the finish was so dumb. For a match that people didn't even care about to begin with, you give us a shit finish like that, where Kendrick retains the title by DQ, makes him look like a pussy, Kalisto looks like a loser. No one cared. And Corbin and Daniel Bryan's like, well, so Corbin goes backstage, and Daniel Bryan's like, why the fuck would you do that? Why would you cost us the Cruiserweight division? And Baron Corbin says, because we don't need any more people like Kalisto on our show. And then he walks off after Daniel Bryan says, I'll continue this talk with you on Tuesday. It's like, if it was that big of a deal, then he would have laid into him right there. He would have suspended him or fired him or something. But nothing. No repercussions whatsoever. Anyway, it was a fine match, but no one cared. So we get to the real match of the night, not the main event, which we'll talk about momentarily. Team SmackDown Live and Team Raw, once again, the final brand supremacy match of the night. It was another 5-on-5 Elimination Traditional Tag Team Survivor Series match. Representing SmackDown, you had Shane McMahon, who was the commissioner, Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, and then WWE Champion AJ Styles, against Team Raw, represented by the Universal Champion Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Chris Jericho, and Braun Strowman. This, I thought, was a great match. Did not fall victim to person gets eliminated in 5 minutes. Next person gets eliminated the very next minute. Another person eliminated in the minute after that. It wasn't rapid-fire eliminations, which I do not like at all. This, they dragged out a lot. The tag team elimination match went about 20 minutes. Same thing for the women. This one, 53 minutes. Almost an hour. Almost a fucking Iron Man match. But except it wasn't an Iron Man match. Which is why I really, really like this. Not every single minute was exciting as all hell, but they really maintained the pace really, really well throughout the match. I thought everyone played their roles well. The way that people were eliminated was questionable in certain circumstances, like when Kevin Owens got disqualified for hitting someone with the list, and then Jericho got taken out seconds later by Orton with an RKO. So taking out the two Canadians and Canada did not lead to the best reaction. But beyond that, Ambrose was the first one gone. Got pinned by Braun Strowman. Again, a bit weird, considering that he was challenging. They had even said on this fucking show that he'd be challenging for the WWE Championship at TLC 2 weeks later. So having him get eliminated first was weird. But Ambrose would resurface later on to help Reigns and Rollins take out AJ Styles, reunite as The Shield. And on the same pay-per-view they debuted at 4 years earlier, which was really, really cool. Took out AJ, Rollins pinned AJ, that was really cool. Other eliminations, Strowman, I think, was the first one gone from Team Raw, and I thought his elimination was really, really well done, so he wreaked all sorts of havoc in this match. In the end, he got taken out with an RKO on the commentator's table with a flying elbow from Shane, and he still got up So they really protected Strowman. And then before he could step back in the ring, he got like stuck. And I'm like, what the fuck was he? Did he botch? Was he supposed to go so quickly back into the ring? Like, what happened? So the camera zooms out and you see someone's hand holding on to Braun Strowman's boot. And it is none other than James Ellsworth, the same man that Braun Strowman re-debuted against on Raw a few months earlier when he first started doing the squash matches on Raw, which is how James Ellsworth got noticed and eventually got a job with the company. So I thought that was great. Strowman went on to kill James Ellsworth, so that was awesome. And the remainder of the match was really, really good too. So like I said, it was Reigns and Rollins, and then Orton and Wyatt for SmackDown. Shane got taken out with a spear from Roman you kind of saw it coming, but it was out of nowhere. Looked like he killed Shane. So Reigns hits Shane with a spear in midair when Shane's going for the coast to coast. Reigns looked like he head first went right into the mat with that spear. So I thought he might have gotten hurt, but it was Shane who got the wind sucked right out of him by Roman Reigns here. So he pins him. Shane's shoulders up so the referee doesn't make the 3 count, which was weird. They made Shane look way too strong in this match, by the way, but whatever. He looked fine, but he should not have been as strong as he was and, lasting longer than Jericho and Owens and Ambrose and all the other guys. But anyway. So he kind of sort of kicks out. The referee examines him and then eliminates him because he's not fit to compete. So I don't think he was seriously hurt because he was on SmackDown the very next Tuesday. And I don't remember anything being reported about him being hurt or maybe a minor concussion. I don't remember. But he was fine, thank God. So it came down to, like I said, Reigns and Rollins and then Orton and Wyatt. Rollins got taken out with an awesome RKO out of nowhere. Great camera work here, too. So Rollins was going for a frog splash on Wyatt. Wyatt moves, and Orton hits him with an RKO. That was really cool. 2-on-1, Roman attempted to, battle back before he could hit a spear on Wyatt. Orton takes the fall for the team. He sacrifices one for not only for the team, but for Bray Wyatt after Luke Harper also got in, and he got involved as well. Randy Orton takes one for the team, a spear from Roman Reigns, which allows Bray Wyatt to hit Sister Abigail on Roman Reigns and pins him clean for the win. Big win for Wyatt and a big win for SmackDown. That was really cool. And the match itself was fucking awesome. And I really think I put it number 10 on my best matches of 2016 for WWE, and that just goes to show how many great matches we had last year. And this year too, but 2016 was out of this world between that and the Cruiserweight Classic and Raw and SmackDown and other pay-per-views. Anyway, this was a great match. More than made the most of the time give it to it, and I thought it was a big win for Team SmackDown. So they lost many of the other matches. They lost Kendrick and Kalisto. They lost the tag team elimination match and the women's elimination match, but this was a big win, and it really kicked off a new era for Wyatt and Orton, because 2 weeks later at TLC, they banded together. Now that Wyatt finally had Orton's trust, they teamed up and won the SmackDown Tag Team titles at TLC. So it kind of kicked off a big win for them too. And it wasn't like, they survived for the team, they get nothing. No, they got a tag team title shot, which I thought was great. So it meant something for them to win too. So I thought that was really, really cool. So again, fucking phenomenal match. Then we get to the main event. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg for the first time in, at that point, over a dozen years since WrestleMania 20. They called it Fantasy Warfare. Now, you have the entrances, big fight feel, and then the match begins. Brock pushes Goldberg into the corner, picks him up and tosses him into the corner. The only offensive move Lesnar had the entire match. So he does that. Goldberg pushes him down to the mat, and Brock Lesnar is kind of sort of stunned, and he gets up, spear out of nowhere from Goldberg. Crowd goes crazy. Like, holy shit, what a way to kick off the match. But then he goes for another spear, and he connects. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he sets up the fucking jackhammer, hits the jackhammer, and pins Brock clean in the matter of a minute and 26 seconds, essentially squashing Brock Lesnar. Now, I don't want to go into how dumb I thought that was. You can listen to my full rant on the outcome of this match from, I think it was #AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio. I did a whole podcast about it. about a year ago when the pay-per-view first happened. So I'm not going to go into how much I disagreed with that finish. We were all stunned. It was shocking. People loved it. People hated it. There was really no in between. I felt like either people really, really liked it or really, really hated it. To me, I just thought it was really dumb to have Brock lose. I mean, again, Goldberg got a big boost out of it, and he was red hot for the entire time that he was with the company from this pay-per-view up until WrestleMania. And I thought the WrestleMania match was great. This lasted all of a minute and a half. I enjoyed the WrestleMania match a lot, but I just thought it was not worth it to have Brock get beaten for the first time in over 3.5 years, or whatever the fuck it was, by a guy who would not be around long term. Now, Brock got his win back, mind you, at WrestleMania. Again, like I said. But Brock really didn't benefit at all. He just was getting a win back that he didn't have before by beating Goldberg. Goldberg benefited for the next few months, but it's not like he put over anyone other than Brock Lesnar. He beat fucking Kevin Owens in a minute and a half at Fastlane a few months later for the Universal Championship. So, again, that was just, I don't know. The outcome was very, very questionable in my eyes. Very controversial, to say the least. In the match itself, I can't even say anything about it. It was a squash match. It was disappointing because they had built it up as such a big fight feel with, as a huge big fight feel. But then again, you can compare that to MMA and all these huge main events that get all this buzz and they're over in a minute. So maybe it made it more realistic. But for a sport, for an industry, whatever you want to call it, that can change how long matches go. There was like 40 minutes left in the show. It was a 4-hour pay-per-view. Now, I'm not complaining about it ending early, but it is a bit weird that you would promote it as a 4-hour show and not even go as long as some of the 3-hour pay-per-view shows go. It's so funny because this was promoted as a 4-hour show. Went off the air 40 minutes early. 40 minutes. Not 5, not 10, not even 20. 40 minutes early. Other pay-per-views, 3-hour pay-per-views, fucking Hell in a Cell a few months ago, 2017, went like 3.5 hours, and that was a 3-hour show. So I just thought that was weird too. There's just not much more I can say about it other than that, because in retrospect, like I said, Goldberg benefited a lot from the win, albeit for a short period of time. I still would have held off on beating Brock for a number of months, if not years, to someone younger that could have benefited more. But for Goldberg, it did lead to a big momentum boost for the remainder of the winter and the fall, or the spring, with him becoming the Universal Champion. So that was that, and that was the main event for Survivor Series 2016. Certainly ended the night on a bang. I will say that much. I did not watch the pay-per-view live last year. I watched it the next day with Jason, and both of us were like, "What the fuck just happened?" We couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. The very definition of the word unbelievable. But, for a pay-per-view that I had high hopes for the first real meaningful Survivor Series, probably the first Survivor Series I had been excited for in close to 5 years. 2014 also had a great main event. This wasn't a great main event, but had a great 5-on-5 elimination tag team match. But the remainder of that show was pretty forgettable. I could not list off one other match in that show beyond Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt, and even that match wasn't all that good. It was the main event that really carried that show. The real definition of carrying a show was that 5-on-5 elimination tag team Survivor Series main event at the 2014 installment. 2012, was not excited for at all. 2013 sucked. 2014, I was excited for the main event, not the actual show. And 2015 was awful too. This one had a good build, but the execution was just not good. Again, watch the Smackdown and Raw 5-on-5 elimination men's match. That was awesome and one of the best matches all year, and did not feel like an hour long. But beyond that, this pay-per-view did not have much to offer. The main event went a minute and a half. Yes, it had the moment with Goldberg winning, but the match was not even a match. It was a squash. And for a main event, wasn't really all that acceptable. Brian Kendrick and Kalisto, very forgettable. The tag team elimination match was mediocre up until the ending, which I thought was great. Miz and Zayn was fine with a dumb finish. The women's match was pretty poor too. Not a great show by any means. Here's hoping the 2017 installment this coming Sunday will be much better than last year's installment. I'll say that much. And that does it, guys, for my 2 cents, my full review of WWE Survivor Series 2016. I'll be talking about the 2017 show next year here on WrestleRant. But you can also check out my immediate thoughts on the pay-per-view on WrestleRant Radio and #AskYouSam airing not tomorrow, but next Wednesday. I mean, it's on tomorrow too, but it won't have my thoughts on the pay-per-view. It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't happen until Sunday. Anyway, guys, be sure to like this video. Drop a comment down below with your thoughts on the video. Share the video and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Like I said, guys, any WCW or ECW pay-per-views that you would like me to review, drop it in the comment section down below or find me on Twitter, tweet me there, whatever. And I would be more than happy to talk about said show here on WrestleRant in 2 weeks' time. All that being said, folks, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.